In the bustling heart of Manhattan, in a sleek high-rise overlooking Central Park, lived Julian Carter, a 32-year-old investment banker with a sharp mind and an even sharper tongue. The eldest of three siblings, Julian had grown up in the shadow of tragedy after losing his parents in a car accident on the Long Island Expressway when he was just 18. Since then, he'd taken on the role of provider for his younger brother, Ethan, and sister, Lila, sacrificing his dreams of studying architecture to ensure they could attend college. Julian was the opposite of warm. His tailored suits, polished loafers, and minimalist apartment screamed control and order. He thrived in the chaos of Wall Street, but despised chaos in his personal life. Ethan, his younger brother, was his pride, a recent Columbia University graduate with a quick wit and a charm that lit up rooms. When Ethan landed a job at a tech startup in Brooklyn, but had no place to stay while settling in, Julian opened his pristine apartment to him. "Stay as long as you need," Julian said, his voice clipped but sincere. "This is your home." At the time, Julian lived alone with his fiancée, Maya, a soft-spoken graphic designer whose calm presence could hush a storm. Their life together was quiet, almost sterile, until Ethan moved in with his boundless energy and his new girlfriend, Sarah, who soon became a frequent visitor. Trouble began when Sarah gave birth to twins Noah and Emma, a year into Ethan's stay. The twins were a blessing to Ethan and Sarah, but to Julian, they were an invasion. His once spotless apartment now smelled of baby formula and talcum powder. Tiny socks littered the living room, and the sound of crying pierced his late-night conference calls. Julian's disdain for children, which he'd always harbored, grew into a full-blown aversion. He avoided the twins like they carried a plague. When Noah wailed at 2 a.m., Julian would slam his bedroom door and crank up his noise-canceling headphones. When Emma's diaper leaked on the couch, he sprayed disinfectant with a scowl, muttering, "This is why I'll never have kids." Sarah, exhausted from motherhood, once asked Julian to hold Noah while she warmed a bottle. He glanced at her, his face a mask of disgust. "I'm not a nanny. Sarah, you chose this life, not me." Maya, ever patient, tried to mediate. "They're just babies, Julian. They're not here to ruin your life." But Julian snapped back. "They're loud, messy, and useless. Why anyone would want this is beyond me." His words cut deep, and Sarah's eyes glistened with hurt. Ethan, torn between his brother and his new family, pleaded, "Just give it time, Julian. They're only 6 months old." Julian scoffed. 6 months too long. This place feels like a daycare from hell. The twins seemed to sense his hostility. Noah would fuss when Julian entered the room, and Emma would bury her face in Sarah's shoulder, as if shielding herself from his cold glare. Julian didn't care. He doubled down, complaining about the baby stench, and refusing to eat Sarah's home-cooked meals because they smelled like diapers. One evening, Ethan announced he'd found an apartment in Williamsburg. "No more baby chaos for you, big bro," he said with a forced laugh. Julian felt a pang of relief, but also an unexpected twinge of guilt as Sarah packed up the twins' things, her face weary. That night, Maya held the twins close and whispered to them, "One day, he'll understand what he's missing." Julian overheard but rolled his eyes, muttering, "Good riddance." Ethan's new place was a cozy loft with exposed brick and a tiny balcony. Julian visited once, grimacing at the sight of toys scattered across the floor. When Emma reached for his leg, he stepped back sharply. "Keep her away from my suit," he snapped. Ethan sighed. "You'll want kids one day, Julian. Trust me." Julian laughed bitterly. "Not in a million years." On social media, Julian's disdain for children became a running joke. His Instagram stories were filled with quips like, "Motherhood, trading sleep and sanity for screams and diapers, hard pass," or "Kids are just tiny tornadoes. I'll stick to my peace and quiet." His followers, mostly colleagues and old college buddies, liked and commented, fueling his ego, but a few pushed back. An old friend, Rachel, commented, "Be careful what you mock, Julian. Life has a way of teaching lessons." He blocked her, dismissing her as sentimental nonsense. A year later, Julian met Cassandra at a gala in Soho. She was a corporate lawyer, poised and ambitious, with a smile that could close a deal. Julian was smitten. She matched his drive, his wit, and his love for a child-free life. "No kids, no chaos," she'd say, clinking her wine glass against his. Their romance moved fast, and within 6 months, Julian proposed on a rooftop overlooking the Hudson River. The engagement went viral on X, with captions praising their power couple vibe. Cassandra planned a lavish wedding at a Hudson Valley estate, with one strict rule: no children allowed. When Maya asked why Noah and Emma weren't invited, Julian shrugged. They'd ruin the aesthetic. Screaming kids don't exactly scream elegance. Maya's voice was soft but firm. "You might need those kids one day, Julian." He laughed. "I'll have better ones if I ever change my mind." The wedding was flawless. No crying babies, no spilled juice, just champagne and string quartets. Julian felt untouchable. But as the marriage settled in, Cassandra began to shift. One night, over dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant, she said, "My mom's asking about grandkids. Maybe we should start thinking about it." Julian froze, his fork midair. "We agreed, Cass. No kids. We're enough." She smiled tightly. "For now, sure, but life changes." Julian didn't notice at first, but Cassandra had stopped taking birth control. Months passed, then a year, and nothing happened. They visited a fertility specialist in Midtown. The doctor ran tests and delivered the news: "You're both healthy. Sometimes it just takes time." But time didn't help. Every negative pregnancy test chipped away at Cassandra's confidence and Julian's patience. Julian found himself noticing children more, on the subway, in Central Park, at coffee shops. He'd catch himself staring at a pack of baby wipes in the drugstore, then shake it off. Memories of his cruelty surfaced unbidden. The time he told Sarah her twins were a waste of space. The time he laughed at a co-worker's story about a toddler's tantrum. His own words echoed back, sharp and accusing. Cassandra grew distant. Her once vibrant energy dulled. She followed parenting blogs, like baby photos on Instagram, and cried in the bathroom when she thought Julian wasn't listening. One night, after 2 years of trying, she whispered, "God, just give me one child. I'll never mock him again." Julian, lying beside her, said nothing, but her words hit him like a punch. He began to wonder if his past hatred had cursed him. One rainy afternoon, Julian was scrolling through X when he saw a post from Ethan. A photo of Noah and Emma, now 4, beaming beside a newborn sister, Lily. The caption read, "Our family grows. Blessed beyond measure." Julian stared, his chest tight. 3 kids, he muttered, "and I've got nothing." His marriage was crumbling. Cassandra barely spoke to him, and he worked late to avoid the silence at home. One day, walking through Central Park, he saw a group of kids on a school trip, laughing and chasing pigeons. A little girl tripped and fell, scraping her knee. Julian instinctively knelt to help, but she screamed, "Don't touch me," and ran to her teacher. The teacher apologized, but Julian felt the sting of rejection. Even kids know I'm poison, he thought. That night, he sat on the floor of his apartment, staring at the skyline. "I mocked them," he whispered. "I didn't know what I was saying." The distant wail of a neighbor's baby felt like a judgment. The next morning, he suggested adoption to Cassandra. She looked at him, surprised but cautious. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "I just want a family, Cass." They visited an adoption agency in Brooklyn. The director, a kind woman named Ms. Rivera, led them to a playroom filled with children. Julian knelt to greet a boy named Max, but the boy screamed and ran. A girl playing with blocks ignored him entirely. A third child burst into tears when he reached out. Ms. Rivera watched closely and said, "Children sense energy. Maybe you need to heal something inside before they'll trust you." In the car, Julian stared out the window, his voice barely audible. "Even the kids, no one wants, don't want me." Cassandra reached for his hand, but he pulled away. That night, he found a note from her. "Julian, I love you, but this emptiness is killing me. I need to be a mother. I'm leaving to find a way. I hope you find peace." She was gone by morning. Alone in his too-quiet apartment, Julian felt the weight of his choices. The spotless floors he once prized now mocked him. He longed for the chaos of crumbs and toys. His phone buzzed with messages from mom groups he'd once ridiculed, now filled with milestones he'd never know. One day, watching kids play in park, he saw a boy fall and his mother kiss a scraped knee. Julian's eyes burned. "I'd have kissed his knee too," he whispered. He called Ethan, his voice shaking. "Can I visit? I miss you guys." Ethan hesitated. "I'll talk to Sarah." The call ended abruptly, leaving Julian staring at his phone. A week later, a letter arrived from Sarah. "Julian, I'm not angry anymore. Noah and Emma are thriving. They know you didn't mean to hurt them. If you want to see them, we're here. It's never too late to love." A year later, Julian returned to the adoption agency, determined to try again. He met a quiet boy named Leo, who sat alone drawing. Julian knelt and said, "Hi, Leo. I'm Julian. Can I see your drawing?" Leo didn't run. He looked up hesitant, then handed Julian a sketch of a house. Julian smiled, his heart pounding. "This is beautiful." The next weekend, he drove Ethan's house. Noah opened the door and shouted, "Uncle Julian," before hugging him tightly. Emma, shy at first, ran to him with a grin. "We missed you." Julian held him close, tears streaming down his face. For the first time, he felt the warmth he'd once rejected. Karma hadn't punished him. It had offered redemption. Julian spent his days rebuilding bonds with Noah and Emma, and when he finally adopted Leo, he vowed to love him with the patience and sacrifice he'd once mocked. His apartment, once sterile, was now filled with laughter, crayons, and the messy beauty of family.